Viewports allow us to see objects that we create in 3D space from several different angles. If we create an object in either of these viewports, you can see that it's going to be created in all of the other viewports simultaneously. Viewports let us view the same object from different angles. This one shows us the object in perspective view. This one shows it in front view. This one shows in top view. And this one shows in the left view. You can create objects in either one of these viewports simply by clicking on it, right-clicking on it, so it becomes selected, and then creating objects as you wish. You can maximize a select viewport by pressing Alt-W. Pressing Alt-W again shows all the other viewports. You can change your viewport configuration by clicking on the edges that separate different viewports, or alternatively you can use some of the presets that are to be found here. Within each of these viewports you can actually change the view from perspective to front, top, left, bottom, or anything else. I'm going to maximize the perspective viewport by right-clicking on it and pressing Alt-W. To switch from perspective view to a top view, I just press the letter T. To switch to a left view, I'm going to press the letter L. Switching to the front view, the shortcut is the letter F. While for the bottom view, the shortcut is the letter B. You can see which view you're in simply by checking the upper left corner of your viewport. So here's the perspective view, top view, left view, front view, and bottom view. While in perspective view, or in any other view for that matter, you can toggle between the default shading, the wireframe, and the edged faces mode. Default shading shows you your objects with their ID colors or materials and textures if they have any. Pressing F3 switches to a wireframe view. Pressing F3 again switches back to the default shading. F4 on the other hand switches to edged faces, which shows you the object along with its edges, which can be very useful. Pressing F4 again switches back to the default shading. You can turn wireframe on and off in any of the views. So if I press F to go into the front view, press F3, I've switched to default shading, while pressing F3 again switches back to wireframe. The same goes for the edged faces. Pressing F4 shows you edged faces, F4 again reverts to the default shading or wireframe, whichever one is selected. To return to perspective view, the shortcut is the letter P. The grid in the very center of our scene is quite useful, as it not only shows us the center of our world space, but also helps us determine the size, the scale of our objects. You can change the size of the grid and the spacing of the grid, or the grid lines to be more precise, by right-clicking on any of the snap toggle buttons, going into the Homegrid, and then choosing grid dimensions. You can set the grid spacing or the spacing between two lines to any specific size. So let's say we can set it to 10 centimeters, which means we're going to have one grid line every 10 centimeters. We have a major grid line every 10 grid lines, or more if we want. And we can set how many perspective grid are going to extend to from the center. So we can set it to a larger number, let's say 50. So now our grid has changed, but what we can know or see right now is that there's exactly 10 centimeters between each of these two lines, which is going to help us create objects in regular scale. If for any reason we wish to hide the grid because it's getting in our way, the shortcut for that is the letter G. Pressing it again shows the grid. And it works in all viewports. So I'm going to press Alt W, right click on the bottom viewport, press Alt W again, and press G. And as you can see, the grid is now again being hidden and being shown. We can move ourselves through our viewport to help us see all the objects that are placed inside our scene way better. One of the tools we use to navigate our viewport is the pan tool. The shortcut for that is clicking and holding the middle mouse button or the scroll wheel and dragging left or right, moving up or down. With this tool, we're not actually moving any objects in our scene, we're just moving ourselves so that we can see our objects better. We can rotate around the objects by holding down Alt, pressing the middle mouse button and rotating. And we can zoom in or out simply by scrolling with our scroll wheel. What you'll notice is that the zooming with the scroll wheel actually gives us incremental zooms. If we want a smoother zoom, press and hold Ctrl and Alt, click with the middle mouse button and then drag to zoom in or zoom out more smoothly. If by any chance we ever get lost in the viewport by zooming and rotating and can't find our way, there is no problem. By pressing the Z key on our keyboard, we're going to zoom in on our currently selected object. If no object is selected, and we press the Z key, we're just going to zoom in on our entire scene.